Well, Matt, I want to congratulate you on your recent position at CrowdStrike.
Thank you.
I hear they hired you a couple of weeks ago, and you were in charge of all their latest sort of software rollouts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You've been having sort of an interesting string of employments lately. This one, I gotta say, not going so well so far. Are they going to keep you around after the latest, kerfuffle, shall we call it?
I don't know what you're trying to imply. I thought it went flawlessly. I did exactly what I wanted it to do.
Good.
Which is take down basically the infrastructure of like half of the IT in the entire world.
The worst hack in human history was not even done by a hacker. It was just done by software deployment negligence.
What's wild is that they updated it on Friday.
Yeah. I was talking to a programmer about that who was like pulling their hair out. Like, why would you do it on a Friday out of all days? I love the idea that probably 90% of that company took the full weekend afterwards. Yeah. And they're just like, we'll deal with this one on Monday.
It's incredible. It wasn't technically like the biggest IT disaster in like history. It was big. Pretty big. It was the Y2K we never got. We were promised, but we never got. Yeah.
A little late, but you know what? Better late than never. Today's podcast is going to be an extra fun one. Welcome, everybody, if you're watching on YouTube or listening on the various podcast venues. If you want to support the podcast, check the description for Patreon memberships where you can watch us live or just subscribe, hit the like buttons, do all that fun stuff that helps us grow. But we have a special guest today. Somebody that I think pretty much everybody out there who watches YouTube gaming videos knows. And if you've been following myself or Matimio for a while, you will have definitely seen JackFrags pop up from time to time. How you doing, Jack?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining, man. It feels like the boys are back in town, getting the crew back together.
Yeah, I did. I watched the episode where you had Brandon on, which I thought was quite fun.
Yep.
But yeah, we're missing Brandon, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's the coordination, especially now that two of us have kids and we're just like older and have a billion more things going on. We had a hard enough time coordinating Squad Up back in the day, back when we were younger, with no responsibilities whatsoever. But it would be cool to get all four of us on for a Squad Up cast.
Well, maybe if the next Battlefield actually is good.
Yeah, October, November next year, we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jack, you have played the next Battlefield, as we call it, Chinese Battlefield.
I thought you were like NDA. I was like, where is this going? Okay. I was like, damn, we're going to get all the details of the next Battlefield.
I watched your videos on Delta Force, Jack. I mean, you let me use some of your footage to make an opinion piece on it. We never got it over here. Last podcast, Matt and I were like, oh man, we're going to play Delta Force in like 2 days. And then they delayed it before it came to the Americas. So, we just have to live vicariously through your YouTube videos and opinions on the game. But it's pretty wild to see a free-to-play Chinese Battlefield like pop up that's kind of a copy and paste of Battlefield and COD. I sort of did a deep dive, and after I did a deep dive on all the things they copied from Battlefield, people in the comments were like, you missed how the weapon animations are 100% copy and paste from Call of Duty as well, where like all the weapon stuff. So that was kind of the last discussion. I thought it was interesting, but what did you think of the game, Jack?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly an amalgamation of many contemporary games. Like it's borrowing from a lot of other shooters. And I mean, your video where you did the comparison, right? Like some of the user interface is almost exactly the same. But I think
borrow is a kind word.
Yeah. From a gameplay perspective, I think it's inherently fun. I think they've got good gunplay. They've got good movement. It's going to be free as well, which is huge.
Yeah.
Right.
You've got the extraction there as well. Console players, I don't think, have a game like that. So it's going to be a massive console player base if they can get the controls right. But yeah, it's fun. I enjoyed it. And I mean, I said this, I'm paraphrasing it in a video that I released. it's going to be a nice gap filler for Battlefield fans because it will release and it will have live service updates and it's got that Battlefield type gameplay. So, maybe it will just fit nicely in that position between now and whenever the next DICE Battlefield game releases. It's fun. I think the specialists, I don't know why they've gone down that route with it. That's going to put some people off, definitely.
Kind of like they copied maybe a little bit too much from Battlefield 2042.
Yeah,
that seems to be the joke.
Be able to see that they've copied the homework there. Definitely,
they copied the wrong Battlefield. Is kind of the community sentiment on it. They're like,
right,
we're not upset that you copied it. Just you copied the wrong one, guys. Go back a couple of titles.
Some of the abilities look cool though. I like the whole smokescreen character. That one's neat.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, there's some interesting things you can do with that. Like if you throw the smoke grenade down and then shoot it with the medic gun, it creates a healing smoke grenade for your teammates.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting.
That's kind of clever.
Mechanic.
Just breathe in that healing smoke, guys.
It's good.
Do you see it lasting, Jack?
I don't know. It really depends on how good the live service is. I mean, there was definitely room on the menu for more game modes in that Battlefield game, that they have. So I can see them doing a conquest, which I'd love to see. Doesn't have the destruction, so it's not quite as dynamic as Frostbite engine Battlefield games. But will it last? It just depends on is the live service going to be good? The anti-cheat of obviously with it being free, that's going to be a big deal.
Be tough.
Yeah, they need to lock that down. We'll see. I mean, the extraction game mode I think they've got 6 maps, so there's a lot of variety there. It's kind of like a nice. I kind of see that lasting longer than the hazard operations, which is the Battlefield type mode. So, that
does seem to be the trend too. Everything's going that direction, especially for like Twitch and YouTube and everything. The extraction stuff just seems to be more engaging because there's big stakes, and then there's the big conclusion at the end.
Yeah, there's a bit more narrative to it. You care about your character more. And Charlie, I know you've talked about this in your videos. Like the problem with Conquest for Battlefield is that it doesn't really have that crescendo moment, right? It's just round and round and round often. And Battle Royale games and extraction games in particular, they have that because you're putting your character and gear on the line.
And it's sort of like marketing kind of realized early on what Battlefield's strengths were just these moments, right? So like only in Battlefield, your Battlefield moments became kind of their slogan for a while because you didn't actually remember the games. Like you didn't remember who won or lost the game. You just remembered those little moments of gameplay that you had that you're like, oh, this one time I jumped out of a helicopter and threw C4 on this thing and then it exploded and it was awesome. It's like, oh, who won? Who cares? Like nobody pays attention to that in Battlefield.
I mean, true, but I also don't remember like my wins in Warzone or in PUBG. Like I remember maybe some of them.
You don't win any PUBG wins, man. I remember.
Well, it's because I don't win in PUBG anymore.
Okay.
Everyone's cracked out of their mind. But besides that, I do hear you though. But I just don't know if everyone's remembering wins even in those battle royales.
I think if you play them ad nauseum, then they all kind of blend together. But I definitely remember PUBG wins more clearly than like any round of Battlefield specifically.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
It is a sandbox.
Yeah. Well, Jack, you've been at this as long as we have now, and you've been very consistent with all of your YouTube content. I watch it pretty regularly. You've always got something, whenever there's a new game coming out that's within the kind of action gaming genre, you're usually right there with a video. What excites you these days now that you've been playing everything that comes out for, the past 13-ish years on YouTube?
What excites me now?
Does anything excite you anymore? Or are you just,
I'm just an empty, soulless husk.
Empty shell.
Producing YouTube videos.
I'm sort of applying my sentiment onto you a little bit, which is, we've been playing shooters forever. It takes quite a bit to get me excited about a new game these days.
Yeah, I don't think that applies to just content creators either. I think if you've played games as long as we have, Yeah, it's difficult to find the new. I mean, when I think about games that I don't know, I wouldn't say I necessarily play them still today, but games that have excited me in the last year or so, like games like Lethal Company, which was surprising.
Yeah.
Something new, it's something that I hadn't experienced before, where you're just a weird space bin man collecting stuff, but it's also a horror game at the same time. Like those are the kind of games that I'm like, okay, there's something here. Yeah, like indie titles tend to be a bit more ambitious, I suppose, with their mechanics. The scale, of course, it's nowhere near as big as a Call of Duty or a Skyrim, whatever. But they can try new things and test new things, experiment, and it's those kind of games that come a lot chained together. I mean, I know it kind of borrows a lot from Only Up, right? But that idea of
Only Up borrows a lot from other things too. All the indies are kind of like grabbing each other's concepts as fast as possible, it feels like.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the AAA games will borrow those mechanics and integrate them into their games. Like the whole body cam thing, right? You had
I can't believe how successful that game has been.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's because everybody thought it was the other game.
Maybe, but it has like 18,000 reviews on Steam, and I was like, wow, this is essentially, it's fun for what it is, but it's essentially a tech demo, and like, sorry to derail a little bit there, but I was blown away by just how many people are playing it, and it's getting decent reviews on it as well.
Yeah, I think just going back to the borrowing thing, like I think in the next Call of Duty, the single player will probably have a 10 or 15 minute section where it's like, okay, this is body cam footage that you're playing now.
Yeah, I could see that.
Oh, yeah.
I could easily see that.
For sure, yeah. COD just injects whatever the flavor of the day is. Speaking of flavor of the day, Fortnite just added the Cybertruck to its game, which I feel is very Fortnite appropriate. And as soon as I saw that news, so I guess you can drive by in Fortnite in the Cybertruck now. I haven't played Fortnite in forever. I have no idea.
You're talking about Tesla, just because I wasn't at first. I wasn't sure. Yeah.
What other Cybertruck is there? Cyberpunk.
I read so much exactly. Continue.
Well, when I saw that news, I thought, how much longer before it's in COD? Because that also seems like a COD thing, right? Like, how much you want to bet we're going to see the Cybertruck or something? Almost like they're going to have to come up with their own version of that to compete with what Fortnite's doing, because COD's doing kind of the same promo stuff.
Well, yeah, it's just literally advertisements at this point. I mean, that's kind of what it's been, but it's been veiled a little bit because they're cool characters from other franchises. Like, I want to play as Spider-Man, or I want to play as Deku from My Hero Academia. And then now it's like, I'm literally just an ad for Tesla.
It's interesting to me because I thought that Tesla didn't do adverts or marketing. So I wonder if they've changed that.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think I heard that too.
Oh, I didn't realize that there are anti-advertisements, but
it's in Rocket League as well, right?
Is the Cybertruck?
Yeah, I think so. They made an announcement today, I think, about Rocket League too.
I wonder if it's sort of these, either they're expanding their marketing department or there's some sort of hybrid thing where people higher ups in each company know each other and they're like, what if we just kind of do some ad campaigns where, I don't know, you show Fortnite running on the Cybertruck computer, right? Because you can do video games on a Tesla now. Maybe they'll do some like little cross promotion stuff that way. It'd be fun.
I mean, they're definitely trying to make it look cool to the younger generation. Like, oh, that truck that's in your favorite video games? Maybe you could go buy it for like 80. How expensive? It's really expensive.
It's over $100,000.
Yeah, it's super expensive.
Yeah. How many Fortnite kiddies are going to be like, I'm going to go buy $100,000 Cybertruck now?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I don't know what the demo is for Fortnite these days, though. I mean, at this point,
it's a pretty big demographic.
Well, it's like when we were starting off in YouTube and like League of Legends was huge. We generally thought about pretty young people playing and getting into League of Legends then. But from reading a recent article on it, is they're not getting as many new players, and so the actual age range for League of Legends is way older now. And I'm like, I wonder if that'll ever happen to Fortnite. If Fortnite will be like, 20 to 30-year-olds that are like, oh yeah, remember back in the day when there was no speed building or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, probably. Wouldn't be surprised. Getting back to your point though about indie games and everything, I think the reason why that all these Jeff Keighley put it really nicely. The big games that have been most successful this year have all been indie titles or like AA titles because they can actually try and do something different. AAA games, I think, have bloated to the point now with the costs and just dev time taking like 6+ years to actually come out with anything. They all play it really safe. And it's because they don't want that investment. You spend like 6-8 years on a title. You don't want it to flop as soon as it comes out. And yeah, so I completely agree with Jack on the fact that indie titles are usually the ones that are coming out with new ideas and mixing up the scene.
And you don't have as much as I think some of these big companies are trying to do it now with like, I've learned a bit about Embark Studio, which is made from the X-Dice devs. And a lot of their philosophy is to try and innovate and test and try different things as quickly and easily as possible, which is super hard to do in a big company because every week of not having a game plan is like massive amounts of money and time wasted for a studio that big, where indies can just be like, I don't know, let's try this. It didn't work. Okay, we'll try something else next week. Oh, there's only a couple employees that kind of failed at trying a new task as opposed to a whole company. So with those big studios, you have to have the whole game plan laid out before production starts, or you're wasting too much money. So how do you lay out a game plan for a game? Well, you can't have elements in there that are unknowns, right? You can't be like, well, I had this idea about a game mode where this and this and this happens. I don't know if it's going to work. We'll have to test it, a lot. And if it doesn't work, then we'll have to pivot. And for a big studio like that, they're like, okay, that's like a, I don't know, $20 million risk that we're taking now. If it doesn't work out and we have to pivot, like how much money does that cost us? And they do still fail, but I think it's not with the intention of taking a risk more so as it is just realizing that whatever their safe plan was actually sucks.
Well, the one game that comes to mind immediately to me is the Concord beta. Did you have a chance to play that at all?
Yeah, I played it.
You did? Did you enjoy it at all?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was competent, but it's not really.
It's not doing anything really.
It's not. Yeah, it's compared to other hero shooters.
Right.
It's very similar. It's mechanically sound, but I don't think it's doing enough against its contemporary peers that are free to play, especially because.
Yep.
Is it $40 I think, or something? I think it would be better positioned as a free-to-play game, and I do wonder if PlayStation will pivot.
I completely agree. I think the gameplay's fine, but it's literally just it tries to like blend all the other genres. They've got like TDM, kill confirm, then they've got like a domination and almost Counter-Strike style mode, and it's like, well, that's fine, but you're not focusing your gameplay on like one kind of particular vibe. And so it just feels very messy in that respect. And I don't really feel like they're bringing anything new other than the fact that you're playing those more classic modes, but with a hero shooter. It just doesn't seem to be really focused in one direction. Yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen. The stream numbers is not looking great. I checked, and they were at 344, and it's an open beta, so on Steam.
Yeah, not much hype for it.
I can't imagine. It sucks because you can almost see these games. You're like, oh, this is pretty much it's dead on arrival. Like the way you guys are talking about it, I haven't played it, but from the videos I've seen and the way you've described it, it's like, what's the angle with the game? Especially if it's a pay to play title versus free to play, which you could maybe hook some people to. It's hard to know how on earth they're going to break in against these juggernauts. And I think we're seeing more and more of that sort of, I don't know if that would be like the capitalist flow of the way that the game economy works, but the niche genres are getting kind of solidified in a way where it's like, how do you compete with Fortnite or Overwatch or something like? How do you compete with the hero action-y competitive shooter when there's already like 3 or 4 pretty big titles eating up that market? Breaking in seems like so difficult. And that is the one, I guess that is the risk that a lot of these AAA companies take, is like, okay, we're going to go up against the big dogs now and try and carve out our own niche. But when they do it without any sort of innovative idea behind it, you're sort of left, the users left sitting there scratching their heads. Like, what was the game plan before you pumped millions of dollars into this project?
And it looks like they did pump a lot of money into it with the trailers. Like, those trailers are incredible. The animations are incredible. Like, there's character models that look like they're real life. And then the gameplay is fine. It's okay. But like you said, there's really nothing that separates it from anything else other than its like thematics. And even then it shares a lot of similarities with other genres and other games.
I mean, what hero shooters are there on console? Overwatch 2, that's on console, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is there any others?
I would argue there's not a ton. A lot of people say that there's a ton of hero shooters and they're getting tired of them all, but I would argue there's really not a ton out there.
I mean, Marvel Rivals, I think, is going to be on console, right?
Yeah, at least successful ones. But yeah, Marvel Rivals will be coming out. I think they're having a beta soon too.
Yeah, another game that played it incredibly safe, and it's
it's fun, at least.
Yeah.
Did you play it, Charlie?
No, I didn't need to. You know, you watch a video on it and you're like, oh, okay. So Overwatch I thought it was Overwatch with a Marvel's skin pack at first, which I think a lot of people did because the UI is so insanely copied from Overwatch. I think there was like a court case a while ago where they ruled that like you couldn't be sued over something that looked similar, but I don't know. They're like the legalese of it all got settled in a case or two, and now every company's like, well, I guess we can just straight up lift the entire look of another game and put it in ours, and we'll be fine. Because if you could get sued for it, I still don't understand why like EA wouldn't sue the company making this next Battlefield game, other than it's owned by Tencent, and I think EA and Tencent have plenty of deals going on, so they probably wouldn't just outright sue each other. They'd send an email
look like the bad guy as well, right? If they did that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Aim after Delta Force, because Delta Force has got a lot of I don't know. There's a good sentiment around it at the moment. I would say, generally speaking, from the Battlefield crowd, that it looks like a fun game, whatever.
Yeah.
So if EA turned around and went, okay, we're suing you.
Yeah,
it just makes them look like the bad guy, right? Oh, you're only doing this because your game sucks or whatever.
Yeah, you're salty.
Yeah, you don't get any sympathy for being a giant corporation, and especially when you've dropped the ball in the last two Battlefield games. The community's like, well, if you're not going to do it, then we'll let these guys do it, even if they just straight up copy and paste your game into Unreal Engine 5, which I'm kind of excited to see what a Battlefield game in Unreal Engine.
And it looks good too.
Like
it actually, I'd argue it looks better than Battlefield 2042 in terms of visual fidelity.
Yeah, and it would be funny too, because I mean, the meme for so long is Frostbite's been such a problematic engine in so many regards. Is why not just make the game in Unreal, an engine that's widely supported and generally considered to be much more stable. Yeah, and now we're getting it. We get to try that out and see what it's like.
Jack, I know you said you said that there was limited destruction. You said there was no destruction.
There's a limited destruction. Yeah, it tends to revolve around where the objectives are. So, like there's a couple of big buildings, for example, that are objective points in the breakthrough style game mode.
Mm-hmm.
If you fire rockets at the walls, you can blow holes in them, and eventually the ceiling collapses. You know.
Gotcha. Nice.
The little outhouses and smaller buildings around the map that if you were playing 2042 or BF4, BF3, you'd be able to blow up. You can't do that in Delta Force. They don't have any destruction on the smaller things.
Yeah. That's too bad. At least there's some though. So at least shows that it's capable on that engine. Is kind of what the point I was going towards. Is that they don't necessarily need to use Frostbite if they there is options.
Yeah. It's the EA thing with the Frostbite engine as well. It's kind of interesting because I know in the past they were just like, okay, all of our games only use Frostbite, and then Respawn came along and they made Titanfall on the Source engine.
Right.
And then obviously since then, I think they did the Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor games on Unreal Engine.
Yep.
And they've obviously got like indie studios that use other engines now. So I feel like they've relaxed that rule a lot, but DICE are like the poster boy, aren't they, for EA, right? So if they weren't using Frostbite engine, what does that say about Frostbite engine?
It's a good point.
Yeah, and it costs so much money to develop these things, and what a lot of people don't understand is like, I think it's harder from a perspective of bringing in talent that can quickly use your software, where tons of people have used Unity and Unreal, but if you're bringing them into a brand new engine, okay, now you're creating an onboarding process for everybody, and beyond that, you're bringing on developers that are going, where can I take the skills that I learn here elsewhere? Oh, nowhere, because it's a proprietary engine? Like, sure, I'll retain the skills I learn for all the softwares that I need to use surrounding the engine, but the actual Frostbite engine skill set does not translate to any other platform, any other studio. So I'm basically screwed with the skill set. So I think it makes it hard for them to hire talent and stuff like that as well. And I'm not one to argue for monopolizing the video game engine industry. Like, we don't want everything just to be Unity and Unreal at the end of the day, because as Unity has shown us how bad that can go when one company has too much power. Tim Sweeney seems like a decent CEO of Epic, but he could turn around any day, or he could be fired or quit or whatever, and then we don't know what the future of Epic is. So, putting all your eggs into two game engine baskets is not great. I'm kind of rooting for Godot, which is the open source engine that ended up getting a lot of big grants and stuff after Unity made their little kerfuffle. So I'm sort of like, it'd be nice if Godot could end up becoming the free to use software of that space down the road.
Like Blender, but for gaming.
Yeah, exactly. Blender's like, it's amazing. If Blender wasn't around, people would just have to keep pirating Autodesk software, because Autodesk buys every 3D application ever and then makes it a software as a service bundle for
of course,
the low price of $1,200 a year. You too can learn how to model stuff in 3D.
Why would that? And their competition is a free software that everyone uses? That seems like a business model that is successful. It must be.
There's an interesting kind of talk about how they basically get these massive corporations to onboard with the software like 3D Studio Max or Maya, and then the cost of retraining or changing their workflow is so high, nobody wants to come in and be the guy to rip off the Band-Aid. And then on top of that, Autodesk spends a lot of money, I believe, getting their software integrated to all the training schools. So I know a guy right now who's learning to model, and he's very good at it, but he only knows Maya, and it's because he went to a school. They taught him Maya.
They taught him Maya.
School, and I'm like, boy, you really should learn Blender. I feel like generally speaking, more studios use Blender, and it's free and just as capable, if not more capable than Maya. And then what happens when they graduate? They've learned a software that they can barely afford to use at that point. It's all just very silly. And I'm surprised.
You're using Unreal Engine for your game, Charlie, right?
Yeah.
So
Unreal 5.
Okay, cool. So I've read online they have this thing where you can make up to $1 million for free. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So
and then
what happens after that?
So I need to read it closer. Probably should, considering I'm making a game on their engine. But
they take your firstborn.
Well, no, the part I'm not totally sure on is I believe it's every year. Anything you make over $1 million, you then pay 5% on whatever you make over $1 million. I'm not sure if that's every year or if it's just once you make over $1 million indefinitely. It's 5% on the remaining. So that's the only part
isn't bad.
That?
What's up?
How are they checking that? Like, do you have to?
I think
end of year kind of thing.
I think so. They probably have I'm sure if they want the data from Steam will probably let them know, would be my guess. But yeah, I think you have to report it yourself as a developer. And I think at the point, if you're making over $1 million, you don't want to risk getting sued by Epic,
Right.
So you're like, why don't we just pay them the 5% and continue making money? So I don't think too many people are trying to get out of that. But
is it really only 5%? For some reason, I thought it was a lot more than that.
No, well, Steam is 30%. So I mean,
right, that's true. So they're already taking their cut. Yeah.
Yeah, it ends up being a lot if you. and I wish Steam was more lax on indie devs, because this system that Epic set up is great for indie devs, right? Because if an indie dev makes $1 million in sales, they're pretty happy. If they, generally speaking, if they didn't put a lot of money into the game, or it was like a 2 or 3 man team. But Steam is like 30% no matter what. In fact, the rate goes down if you make an astronomical amount of money. And you're like, it feels like that's kind of backwards a little bit.
The rich get richer.
Yeah. And you're like, well, this indie game that's like has to decide whether or not they're going to make a DLC for their game, and they're building their niche audience, and they're like, well, 30%, that just made it uneconomical for us to make that DLC. It's a pretty aggressive percentage, and Epic and a lot of other companies have really been pointing this out about Steam and how they've kind of monopolized.
What's Epic's take? 10?
Epic wants it cheaper, The Epic Game Store does it for 12%, I think.
12%?
And there isn't really... It's hard to argue that they need that 30%, especially when Valve's employee count is like 300 people or something.
Yeah, it just came out. It's really small.
Yeah, which is like incredibly small, and they make more money per employee than any company in the world. And you're like, I think you guys could afford to lower that percentage. Just, it's a hunch.
They could, but we also live in a world where that's not how things work.
Exactly.
Like, why would they be like, oh yeah, here's your money back? It's like, no, they're going to want as much money as possible. Did you know Amazon for books, Audible, if you do not do an exclusive deal for Audible for your audiobook, you get 30% or something like that.
If it's not on Audible, what is
so
that?
if you have an audiobook for your book, right, and you want to put your book on other platforms other than Audible, you get like 30% on their platform.
On the Audible. So Audible cuts 70% of your revenue as a punishment for
something like that. I don't know the exact amount, but it is an unbelievable amount.
This is the kind of thing where I don't understand why the legal system hasn't protected consumers and publishers more, because it's very aggressive, and it sucks too, because Audible's fine in terms of its technology and what it provides. Like, there's nothing wrong with the business concepts. They've been incredibly successful, but now they're just getting super aggressive with it. And I mean, like, not to get political, but we need more regulation in these types of distribution platforms, because the digital marketplaces have basically become super monopolized, and legislation is behind the times. Jack, the UK is better about this. The UK slapped both Microsoft and Apple around for some of their monopolistic holds
on the app stores.
Yeah. And I swear the US is always like 10 years behind, if not more, with like I'm sure it has nothing to do with lobbying or anything like that.
Sure, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Does Audible have any competition?
No, that's the problem, is that they really don't have any competition. And that's why I don't know if it's 70%, but it's an incredibly high amount. It's one thing that a lot of authors are complaining about. But yeah, it's the big problem. It's one of the reasons why I kind of roll my eyes a little bit when people say, I just want all my games on Steam. It's like, okay, well, if everything moves on over to Steam and then Gaben, maybe he retires, well, then what if the next guy comes and is like, okay, now we have our monopoly. Mm-hmm. Like, what are you going to do about it, right? Like, they control everything. It's why you don't want to have a situation like Audible.
Yep. They could do some crazy stuff too. What if Steam all of a sudden, what if the next CEO came in and, because this is just the nature of companies, especially in America, it's all just about raising that stock value and your whatever. Is Valve private? I can't remember.
I don't know.
But what if they just came in and they're like, yeah, we're just going to feed you ads every time you go to load up a game. You're going to have to watch a 20-second ad or something. Like, they could do that. Probably. There's probably some little clause that they could change or make it work. And then it's still the premier game launching platform in the world. There's nothing we can do. We just got to watch your stupid little ad before you launch your game now.
That'd be so ridiculous.
People would accept that.
No, I mean, I think they would be livid, and then they'd go, and then there'd be like some backlash from a percentage to like go use GOG or Epic Game Store or whatever. But I think the vast majority would just be like, I'll be in 1 sec, guys. I'm watching an ad for Tesla.
Oh my God.
Whatever.
Yeah.
That would suck.
You can imagine a future where, like, if you wanted to play a game that you can only get on Steam, like Counter-Strike 2, for example, you load that up, and then before you can start queuing for a game, you have to watch a 30-second ad, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Oh my Lord. I mean, what else are you going to do? Queues usually aren't that fast. It's like 30 seconds anyways. Why not watch an ad in the meantime, right, guys? Right.
Well, I mean, truly the only defense against it is a non-monopolistic marketplace, right? But as long as Valve's a monopoly, they could do that and essentially just get away with it, right?
I mean, they're always trying to make more money. Like, you look at Netflix and now like Amazon, and they have, if you had your normal just Amazon subscription and you watched videos on their platform, now that subscription isn't enough apparently to them. You have to upgrade it to like their premium video edition if you don't want any advertisements. Like, oh, cool. Now I just have ads on Amazon unless I upgrade. Awesome.
Yeah. I have to pay like an extra £3 a month for that in the UK. And you know what I did? Because I wanted to watch The Boys without getting any ads.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I hear you.
And the ads are aggressive too. You're like, it's like almost, it feels more than TV ads sometimes, where you're like, how many ad breaks in like a 30-minute show can they shove in there? Quite a few.
Amazon hasn't been too bad, but man, Hulu is just horrendous in that respect. Just awful.
In the UK, we're not allowed to watch HBO, right? So you got some cool shows on HBO in the US.
It's because there's
not allowed
brief nudity on it, and they're just like, can't have that.
I think Sky own the rights to it in the UK, and they show it on something called Now TV. So if you have like a certain Sky package or a Now TV package, you can watch like House of the Dragon, for example. But the basic edition of it is like 720p, and you don't even get surround sound. And if you want to add, if you just want to go to 1080p, you have to pay like an extra £6 a month for that and surround sound.
Dude,
so just for 1080, like not even 4K,
yeah, not even 4K. Yeah.
What year is it, Jack?
Well, it's the monopoly thing, right? Like, that's how they get you.
I learned about Sky TV when I was trying to watch Formula One in the States at like a decent resolution, because the F1 app kind of sucked and didn't work on like all these devices. Luckily, they've made it better, but it was like, yeah, you got to watch it through Sky TV. And I was like, what the heck is Sky TV? Does anyone pay for that over here? Pretty much no. And so it's just this weird situation of like, yeah, you just can't really watch that sport in the resolution that you want to in the States because the global economy can't figure their shit out. I've always found that wild, and with weird stuff lagging behind, especially in like sports in the US, for the longest time, the rest of the world was beating us out, and like the biggest sporting events of the year were like 720p max. I was like, this is ridiculous, man.
That is pathetic.
It is. And then they're like streaming hockey in 4K in Canada because the Canadians really care about their quality over there. And they're like, yeah, man, we want to see the puck. And then we're watching football over here in like 720p. It's like, all right, what is happening, man? My YouTube videos are higher resolution than one of the biggest, sporting networks in the world. Come on, guys. I think they can figure it out,
Yep.
Sign up for a YouTube account and just stream it on YouTube. There you go.
Bringing it back to games. Did you guys see the Splitgate 2 announcement?
Oh, I thought you were going to say Deadpool butt controller. Sorry.
We can talk about it's a nice butt controller. It is a nice glute.
People are upset that the butt is removable. Did you see that?
I did not know it was removable, but I don't know. They're upset about it?
Yeah,
it's a
they wanted it to
just snap-on thing.
Yeah.
Why would you be upset about it? Well, I mean, you could maybe be a little, surprised.
Then it just turns into a normal controller.
But then just keep the butt attached.
Yeah.
Why would?
I don't know.
It gives you at least the option.
Yeah, I think people were just hoping it would be a bespoke, custom molded controller that was forever a butt controller. There's no way not to grab the butt of the controller while you're playing it.
It does look quite large too, so I could see it if you did have it on. It could get annoying.
Yeah. Also, like the grip point, it's the crack, right? I mean, that's where you have to grip it on the backside.
I guess you could get if that's where you want to grip level, grip where you want.
I'm not saying where I want to grip. I'm just saying.
It sounds like that's where you want to be gripping.
If I want to play competitively, yeah, then my fingers are going in the crack for sure.
So, Splitgate 2.
Yeah. Woo! You think that's going to do anything?
I'm looking forward to it. Did you guys even play it at all?
Yeah.
Well, the original,
a
little bit. I love that game. I didn't really last very long, but I thought it was super cool. Speaking of games that actually do something different, that one felt like it was a little bit more of a proof of concept, but now apparently they've got more money. They've got a larger dev team. Obviously, it's going to be higher fidelity as well, at least based off of a couple of pictures that have been going around. And I'm hopeful that it'll be good. The one thing that people have brought up though is it's got like hero mechanics, and
it's what I liked about it when it was big for the week that it was big. I think that's about how long it was a huge deal, and it was a big deal for a very short period of time. So it was fun because it brought me back to my arena shooter days. I was like, it feels like Unreal Tournament kind of almost. People are just into it, or like early Halo days, right? It sort of felt like Halo meets Portal, and so it was cool having all the mainstream people be interested in what essentially was an arena shooter for a short period of time, and then I think everybody remembered it was an arena shooter and stopped playing it. With the sequel, I think the attraction to the game isn't necessarily the visuals or the fidelity, right? It's the gameplay. So that's what I'm curious about, is like, how much are they going to be able to innovate the gameplay side of things? Because otherwise it just feels like it's just going to go the same way that Splitgate 1 went, which is everybody's going to go, oh, this is pretty cool. And then a week later, that's it. But maybe it's enough. I don't know. Who knows? It sounds like they're putting more money into it, which in my brain means it's got to be successful for longer, right? It can't just be everybody's talking about it for a week. Yeah, where the first game felt like it was low budget enough where they definitely made money on it and enough to finance a sequel, What do you think?
It's still an arena shooter, right? Like,
it is still an arena shooter. And so so people are freaking out, Jack, about the whole hero aspect, and it's not going to be a hero shooter. I don't think you're going to be pushing like a payload or anything like that. It's still going to be an arena FPS. But you're right. That could be a problem, because I'm assuming what you're alluding to is it's an arena FPS, and those don't seem to be doing very well.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, with those type of games, I spent so much time when I was a kid playing Quake 3 and Unreal Tournament, and even COD's an arena shooter, right? Some of the 6v6 game modes definitely lean in that direction.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I mean, it's just my personal opinion. Like, I've played that type of game so many times now that when a new one comes along, it only lasts a certain amount of time before I'm like, okay, it just feels like another arena shooter. Like, and I'm not attached to my character in any way. There's not much narrative there for me. I don't know. I think as I've got older, I'm much more interested in the social aspect of games and how you can have emergent narrative in multiplayer. Like, there's not much opportunity for that in a game like this outside of, put a portal there and then shoot a rocket through and then jump through and then you get a cool kill.
Yeah.
I don't know if that has much staying power for me personally. But I always try and think about it from, kids who are growing up today. They didn't have the opportunity to play Unreal Tournament, so this might be their Unreal Tournament.
Yeah,
that's a good point. I do think it's kind of ironic though how we talk about innovation, and I think that the whole Portal system is pretty. That's up there, at least in terms of innovation. There isn't anything else out there that does something like that.
Portal.
The only thing, Portal. I mean, there's portals in other games, but if you played any other first-person shooter that allows you to go through portals, shoot through portals, and have that kind of experience, I would say no.
I guess when I think of innovation, I think of a new thing where they're blending two things together.
Name one game that's come out recently that has actually done something new. New that's never been ever been done before.
New?
Yeah. The point I'm trying to make is you're never going to get that. You're never going to get something that's new to like every idea has been at least explored to some extent, and to come in with something brand new and fresh entirely is impossible. You're always going to be iterating on other things, taking from other games and trying to make your own thing that becomes the new. So I guess that was kind of the point I'm trying to make is like, how innovative do you need it to be to actually bring something fresh to first person shooters, considering that genre in general is so stale other than just game modes at this point?
Yeah. No, it's hard to know because we've seen over the years so many people try and revive the arena shooter genre.
Yeah.
And I think what was exciting about Splitgate was that it seemed like the closest game to honestly do that. Like when you look at other stuff like Lawbreakers or something, like stuff that had a lot of money behind it, that was like, we're going to bring back the arena shooter.
We're going to be the next $1 billion title.
Yeah, and then falling flat on their face. And then Splitgate, all of a sudden, like all the big streamers are playing it. Everybody's playing it for like a week. You're like, whoa, is the arena shooter actually going to come back? I think it really just has kind of morphed, kind of what you're saying, Jack, is like Call of Duty and Halo are sort of like they're what the arena shooter turned into. And for the people that just want that fast-paced, mindless combat over and over and over again, that's where they go for it now. And it's like, okay, well, we could have the sort of the classic low-gravity, insta-gib, flying through the air stuff, but movement shooters are higher skill, they're harder to get into, and so the games that are easier to get into, more accessible, seem to win out in that case, you know?
Yeah, I feel like, again, for me personally, in terms of first-person shooters, I prefer more players, bigger levels, and more sandbox. Again, I'm not knocking Splitgate. Like, it's a type of game that it's chosen to be. Like, it's an arena game, whatever. That's fine. But I don't feel like I wouldn't get new experiences there. It just is like, I'm a guy with a gun. I can make a portal and go through the portal. And I don't know if they're going to intend on having more objective-based game modes in Splitgate 2. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, maybe that could entice me to play that. And also, what do they do with the live service? Because that's such a big deal nowadays, I think, like evolving the game. Because everyone's attention span is so short, right?
It really is.
It's just, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? How can they evolve a Splitgate in that respect?
Yep. I think the multiplayer shooter genre in itself is such a risky genre to try and get into. And there's that astronaut FPS game that came out recently, Matt, which I would say wasn't like necessarily inventing a new genre, but they were kind of one of the very few FPSs to go for zero-G combat. And
it's called Boundary, I think.
That's
Boundary. I was trying to remember the name.
And that kind of fell on its
game
base too, though, right? So it's like, I just look at any game trying to make where the ability for them to succeed is based on developing a dedicated, loyal fan base that plays their game regularly and spends money on microtransactions or whatever in the shooter multiplayer space. I mean, that's all. It seems like 9 out of 10 games fail, if not more, in that genre. It must be higher than that. It's crazy.
So my question is, how does... Because I agree. I also fall into that same trap. I played Splitgate and enjoyed it. I do like an arena shooter every once in a while. But doesn't that kind of ring true also now for even something like Battlefield? Battlefield isn't doing anything crazy or new. Is it just simply because it's more sandbox and that tells its own story because you're just a soldier on, running around and you can have your own narrative? What makes the game like Battlefield or a future Battlefield resonate with you more than just the smaller maps?
For me, Matt.
Yeah. Sorry, Jack.
I don't know. I feel like when I play like those more sandbox games, it's more role play. It's fantasy. Like you're getting into it a bit more, and whether you're doing things just for fun or you make a stupid thing happen and perhaps you die because of it, but you enjoy that moment more. I think there's more opportunity in those kind of games to experience. It's just a variety, I suppose. And
so the sandbox really kind of pulls more of the weight.
Yeah, that's what appeals to me more. Yeah, and there's more opportunity to for teamwork, especially. Like I think that's a big problem with arena shooters. I mean, not so much in a game like Counter-Strike or Valorant, where teamwork is very important in terms of repeats and flashes and stuff like that.
Yep.
But I don't know. I feel like in those kind of arena games, like Hyperscape, like that's a good example. Even the finals, you just feel like you're kind of on your own, a man with a gun, and you're limited in what you can do. Or I feel like that anyway when I play those type of games.
Which is interesting because the finals, it does feel more like a sandbox. It's still an arena game, but it feels more sandboxy than anything else that's come out recently. Yeah, but it still suffers from that same problem because I'm right there with you.
And I think I feel like games like this are so highly competitive that they can't build up a big enough. I hate the word casual, but a big casual player base, people that just want a nice, accessible game to play when they come home after a day's work. And those kind of people are quickly phased out of the game because every time they play it, they just get their ass kicked.
Yeah, that is interesting too because I really like the finals a lot, but I don't play it a lot because it's sort of a game that demands from you that high concentration and focus, and it doesn't really say, hey, go just kind of have fun with your friends. It's more like, no, well, you're supposed to win, right? Like which is
kind of ironic because it feels like it's designed to be casual, but then also has like a very competitive like mode and everything around it.
It almost feels like they did 9 out of 10 things right, and then the last little thing is like maybe it wasn't supposed to be a hyper competitive game. And the way they described it was they don't want it to be a hyper competitive game, but it's designed exactly to be
around
a hyper competitive game. I'm like, this
who wants to be
really
to be in the finals? Exactly.
Yeah, if the finals was some sort of open world or like you're getting swarmed by AI bots and you have to work together or something by destroying the environment, like that would create a situation where you're always working with other people and you have exploration and it's not just about who can get the most headshots or whatever in the quickest amount of time.
But that would be an entirely different game.
Right. Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying like the mechanics of the destruction and the fun world creation of their virtual. I like the narrative stuff. I like the destruction stuff. I do like the movement and the actual gameplay of like jumping around and doing things. It's all really fun. But having that tied behind I'm going to be kind of annoyed if we don't all work together in this moment to beat the other team because we're just not organized or we haven't or whatever. It's a weird juxtaposition to have against such a fun backdrop of a game.
I can't believe that the finals haven't done a conquest style game mode yet, which is just fun.
I bet you they're limited by the server, the netcode stuff, because with the server-based destruction, I think it's quite expensive, and I think
that's a good point.
That's probably why their round sizes are fairly limited in terms of the teams. What is it, 12 players, I think? Something like that?
I think you can have 16.
I know they did a 5v5 game mode recently where you're like on a floating platform.
Yeah.
But is it 4? So it's 4 teams.
Is it 4 teams? I think it's 4 teams of 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's not a lot. I think they are kind of tech limited in that realm because they wanted to do the crazy thing, which is ultimate destruction, which is really cool.
It's awesome. When you see an entire building just crumble, not just like an entire building, like an entire building, just crumble. It's awesome.
Yeah, when you realize that the destruction goes beyond just like a simple sequence where you're like, wait, I can bring down that whole building. It is sort of like a cool moment, but then it's trapped within this hyper competitive sort of small form factor game mode.
Yeah. So the reason why I was bringing this up is getting back to the whole arena and everything is, so even though we love Battlefield, obviously we love the narrative and we love the sandbox. Do you think that's one of the reasons why that DICE and EA had pushed away and started doing stuff like Hazard Zone? Is that they kind of maybe saw the writing on the wall? Is that people are kind of getting bored of just the standard old conquest and they were trying to bring in something new and doing the whole extraction FPS experience? Do you think that maybe played a role, or do you think they were just literally just doing it because they were following the trends? Either of you, it doesn't matter.
I think it's a bit of both. I think people are looking for more of a meta game nowadays, especially if they've played a lot of FPS games. Like, I think that's what made Tarkov so successful. And why so many extraction games are coming out now, right?
Right.
There's so many trying to do that same thing.
A couple every month, it feels.
Yeah. Like Hazard Zone, it was very undercooked. It felt like
it was very undercooked.
You know, what was the point almost? But I do think I think Battlefield doesn't need a battle royale. But I think it would be cool to see if in the next game if they do it. It might be cool to see another attempt at an extraction game in the Battlefield universe. But you know, they need to actually dedicate some dev time and money towards it and make an actual thing rather than, oh, here's a game mode that you play maybe 3 or 4 times and never again. Like, it needs the metagame aspect.
It seems like they're just afraid to commit to it, where they're like, their plan is like, well, what if we make a mode?
They did it for Battle Royale too.
Yeah, Battlefield 5, right? Like, Firestorm had some really cool ideas, but they just didn't finish it, you know? Yeah. And so it comes out. And, it comes out, and you're like, oh, this is really, there's a lot of really cool stuff. It's still one of my favorite Royales in terms of the destruction being integrated to it and how well that worked out. It was really cool. And how much it fixed all the things I hated about PUBG. And I was like, oh, this is great, you know? Now we don't have to just push up a single stairwell to get blasted in the face by some camper. I can just blow up the building. It was fantastic. But then they didn't finish it. Clearly, the looting system, all that stuff. And so it's like they approach these modes with like, let's do the trend, but also let's not put too much effort behind it, because if it doesn't work, then we don't want to spend too much money on it. And you're like, well, now you're just kind of sealing your fate in that sense, because you just haven't given it the full effort, which you sort of need to. But at the same time, I think if you guys know the story behind Call of Duty's first Battle Royale, that was very much a
Blackout.
Yeah, that was them pivoting at the last moment because they screwed up their like single player or something like that, right?
They didn't have a single player, did it?
Their messaging was that they made the Battle Royale instead of a single player. From my memory, that's my recollection of it.
Yeah, and I think stuff came out later saying basically they were trying to build the single player. They canned it or something at the last moment and pivoted. And that's what started Battle Royales in Call of Duty, was this last minute pivot, which I think they just had the budget to make it good enough, you know, in that short period of time. They just had enough funding to throw at it to put a game mode in there that was, while it was an amalgamation of a lot of crazy stuff and not the most well-balanced Battle Royale ever, it was enough to get the COD community invested in it, you know?
I liked it. I thought it was fun.
It was fun. I played it too. It was enjoyable, even if it was kind of like a whole bunch of random crap thrown together. There was like zombies and stuff that would come randomly for like events, and you're like, whatever, it's just stuff happens.
Yep.
You remember they had emotes that put you in third person and you could just spam them and see around corners?
No, I did not know that. No,
I didn't get that meta with it.
That was quite a problem.
Oh, they're coming. Nope. They're okay. They're pushing. Yep, that's good.
I think they fixed it eventually. But I remember that being a meta thing that you could do if you were
basically
really,
an exploit.
Sweating. Yeah.
Or just
not intended.
PUBG normal mode, right?
Yeah, third person. Yeah.
Oh man, there was a time when like third person was the preferred way to play PUBG or something, right? It was.
I think it originally came out in third, and then I think they added the first.
For a while.
Okay, that's why I remember that, and playing it a whole bunch in third person back then, and it was just like, who wants to run down a hallway?
Not me.
Third person mode in a hardcore FPS. That always blew my mind. Be like, okay, I'll just go down this hallway, and some dude pops out with a shotgun, insta kills you. You're like, all right, cool.
Yep.
The good old days. What games are on your radar, Jack? What you looking forward to?
What am I looking forward to? I am interested in Space Marine 2. I think the last trailer for that was amazing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I think it was the CEO of the company was just like, look, here's the game. Here's everything you can do. Have at it if you're interested. It was such a good trailer.
Yeah.
So that Space Marine 2 is definitely on my radar. Indiana Jones, although we haven't really seen much of that yet. A few clips of that here and there. Although I am surprised that they didn't go third person for that game. I thought it was going to be more Uncharted.
Yeah.
Yeah,
surprised by that too.
I feel like
Helldivers
a
2,
for it,
new
really.
faction as well.
Have they announced that at all, or is this
They
just
haven't announced
speculation?
it, but there's been stuff in the game. What are they called? The alien faction in Helldivers. I can't remember their name.
The Illuminate?
That's the one. Yeah. So I've kind of stopped playing Helldivers 2 because I'm like, nothing new going on. But I think when they do the update with the new faction, I'm going to be diving back into that. Definitely.
God, Helldivers is such a magical game. Even I'm right there with you. They haven't had anything really in a long time. But even going back and playing it for a couple hours, you're like, man, this game is just so well made. Just shooting a bunch of bugs is so satisfying. That's all I wanted to say. I just love that game. I can't get enough of it.
It's the Starship Trooper game that fans probably have always wanted, essentially. Even though they kind of made a Starship Trooper game recently. That wasn't bad, actually.
Are you looking forward to Stalker 2, Jack?
Oh, definitely, yeah. It does have a release net date now, right? They delayed it, but is it September?
I think it is coming out
I think
later
it's supposed
this year.
to be this year. It was last year. It was supposed to come out late in the year, and then
according to Google, September 5th.
Yeah, it looks great. I mean, from a graphic perspective, I think it's Unreal Engine 5, right? Like they're really pushing what it can do. I'm super excited for that.
Yeah,
nice.
I'm a little everybody. It's funny because the modding community for Stalker, they've modded in multiplayer support so you can do co-op stuff, and it does seem weird to me that they didn't try and pursue some sort of co-op angle with that game. Well, I'm totally in support of single player, and I'm gonna play Stalker 2. It just seems like that's the environment that's perfect for that co-op adventure too. Having a side game or something that give you a co-op option or something. It just seems like the market is ripe for it. But
it depends on how like story driven certain sections are, and like how would you deal with cutscenes, and it'd probably be a bit of a headache.
Maybe you have to make a side game that's more a dedicated co-op experience or something.
Yeah, it'd probably be a lot of effort.
Yeah.
How about you guys? What are you? What's on your radar?
Pretty much what you just described. My biggest one is Space Marines 2. That game, just like for Helldivers, even though I know they're not exactly the same, there's just something about shooting hordes of enemies in front of you and then getting stronger and getting new loot. And then they've got co-op. They've got I don't know about the multiplayer though. I won't lie. The multiplayer aspect is not really.
The PvP.
Yeah, it's like
it seems
okay,
like
but
not the main point of the game. Like at all.
It really doesn't.
Yeah.
So, but that's probably my biggest, most look. And then you got Stalker 2. I'd have to look at. I have like a list, or do I have a list? Those are the big ones, though.
My video game list.
Video game list.
Yeah, Stalker 2 is probably top of my list. Just because I think thematically, there's no games that have come close to it. And Space Marine for sure. I have been enjoying the latest Warhammer games. They're fun, even if the last one was a little undercooked. The visuals and the world crafting were like insane in this next game. Yeah, Darktide just looked incredible. One of the best looking games I think that's out. It just and the latest patches have made the character progression a lot more interesting. But at that point, I was kind of not as invested in the game once they fixed it up. But yeah, Space Marine looks cool. And then, of course, Matimio's favorite game.
Call of Duty.
Yeah,
baby. I thought you were going to throw like My Little Pony at me or something.
I can't wait for the next season, baby. I can do Gundams in COD now, so I'm excited about that.
What do you think about the Omni movement they're doing for Black Ops 6? You see that?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool, but it just seems... It's like getting back to the point that we were just talking about. Like, what do you do for a first-person shooter to make it like more interesting, right? There's only so much you can do, and now they're like, you can sprint backwards.
Yeah. Well, it's like when everybody was all excited about crouch sprinting and stuff. You're like, I guess that's new.
You say the Specialist mod?
Yeah, did you guys play that? It was a mod for Half-Life called the Specialist.
Oh, no, I did not.
Oh, yeah. Is that the like gun fu type stuff?
Yeah, like action. Yeah. So a lot of the language they've been using for Black Ops 6, action hero, kind of reminds me of the Specialist. So I think the movement might feel a bit similar to that with the diving and sprinting any direction kind of thing.
Yeah. It looks like a cool like progression of COD. I think that's neat, but
It's
I don't know
funny
how much it's
because
actually going to change things.
You remember how annoyed the audience got when they started doing more of the jump jet stuff and wall running in Call of Duty? And then they're like, I want my boots on ground gameplay, you know? And so there's only so far I think you can push COD before the core audience is like, this isn't my COD, you know? Hashtag not my COD. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I feel like I almost don't need all of that extra sprinting backwards. Like, I mean, I can live without that feature.
I mean, you move a little bit faster, but backwards, LevelCap. Why wouldn't you want that?
I'm not like, whoa, holy smokes. I wasn't excited for COD until I saw the sprinting backwards. Now my mind is afire with ideas and gameplay concepts. No, I'm still in the Star Citizen fanboy camp in terms of like what I'm looking for next.
How about the Jurassic Park survival game? Have you seen that?
Mm-hmm. I didn't see. Is there a new trailer for it or something?
There's not a new trailer. It just came to mind because it's like a single player survival game, I think. But it looked cool. I mean, they didn't show much gameplay in it. There was a few snippets, but it's an interesting.
It's done
premise.
well, right?
Oh.
The Jurassic Park RTS games were fun, but you could tell they were still in the vein of like, hey, let's throw a lot of money or let's throw a big IP at a mediocre game. And so,
wait, I'm sorry. Your mic keeps popping, by the way. You're a Jurassic Park real-time strategy game?
Sorry, the city building, the park building.
Oh, game. Okay. I was like, real-time strategy.
Oh yeah. No, it's dinosaurs. It's T-Rexes versus
of dinosaurs coming at each other. That'd be
now
that'd be
you
sick.
want to play
I'd
that,
play the hell out of that,
especially if they were cyborgs too. That'd be sick.
Yeah.
No, but Jurassic Park's just kind of got a history of them making mediocre games with a top tier IP. And so that's my hesitation with getting too excited about a Jurassic Park survival game where I'm like, if done right, that could be the best game ever. I'm not getting my hopes up until we see some reviews.
One game that I know I'm very much looking forward to, but I don't know when it releases, is Judas, the creator of BioShock. Yeah, Kevin Levine. He's making a new FPS. I think this is the first since Infinite. And I loved BioShock, and from the sounds of it, it's going to be a very unique experience. It's kind of going to be a little bit roguelike, but like all the characters, so much. You guys played Hades? Have you played Hades, Jack?
No, but I know what it is.
Yeah. So characters will like react to like you throughout the story, and I think it also you can like make decisions and sort of side with certain characters as you're going through the world over and over and over again, and it's going to be dynamic. It sounds very ambitious. It also sounds like it could just be a lot of PR talk, like it's going to be the next big thing. But I very much excited to see where that game goes because it does seem like it's going to do some neat stuff.
Yeah. I think when devs break off like that too, when they start their own thing, that's usually where a little bit more innovation comes from, right? When they're like, I didn't just leave to go make the exact same thing I've been making before. I want to make something new.
Yeah.
Yeah. Light No Fire also is another game that, while I'm not a huge No Man's Sky fan, like
I literally just played it yesterday.
I can appreciate. Oh, you played the new update?
Yeah.
How is it?
It's so I started a new character because I only played like 3 hours.
How is the onboarding? That's what always kills me.
A
with
lot
No Man's
better.
Sky.
Like it was a lot smoother. It's more focused on like building a base and getting started in that respect. And it was very smooth.
It's not
the
like
onboarding
10 hours
slow
before you get to do something cool.
Well, kind of. They have you. It's the onboarding thing is really good. It gets you moving. You're on like the first planet for a while, and then you move out eventually. And then I found a planet now that one of the new biomes is floating islands, and so I'm now making a base on a floating island. It's got like it even has for some reason
drill down
a
through
river.
The bottom of the island, and then
I don't know if you can. You might be able to, which would be really cool. That'd be really
Pandora.
neat. Yeah, I'm literally on Pandora right now. Exactly, Jack. It's not like lush foliage, but there are some places that are lush. I went to a planet that was essentially, it almost reminded me of a tropical island, but it was frozen except for like the water, and you could go in and it was like a lot of biodiversity in the ocean. It looks good. I was very impressed. I'll probably play more of it tonight because it was a lot of fun. So I'm very much looking forward to Light No Fire, like you were saying.
Yeah. and that's the when what is his name? Sean something? Is that his name? I forgot
his name's Sean. Yeah, I don't remember his full name though.
Sean Murray, I think.
Sean Murray.
Yeah, that's it. There you go.
Yeah, he talked about working on it for years with like a team of 12 or something like that. Which I think when you're in a smaller size like that, it seems like he knew he wanted to explore the concept of that game rather than like he had it all written down from the start and was like, this is going to be great. It was like he sort of had a generalized idea, kept the team small, and figured out how to make his concept fun before committing too many funds to it. And that just gives me a lot of faith in like what he's trying to do. Like I almost believe in a game where they spent years with a small team ironing out the weird things and figuring out their true direction and what they want to do. That gives them the time to experiment and play. So in terms of like what we were talking about earlier with games that aren't innovating, I mean, Light No Fire is innovating the shit out of an open world exploration game. Like, here's a planet, like just go.
Explore. Yeah.
Yeah.
What blows me away is they kind of needed to do it because their reputation was at zero. They came out, it was a horrible launch, it was a disaster, there were so many false promises, they had no reputation. And then slowly and steadily over, it's basically been a decade now, they've come out with free updates, continuously updating it with new content across the board. Granted, it may not be the deepest of systems, but there's so much to explore now. And all of it has been 100% free. There are no microtransactions. There's no way to like give money to the game. They've just been doing it free from the beginning.
Do they not they have no MTX stuff in it?
I asked my chat the other day and they said, no, there's no way to actually buy anything in this game. So
that's wild.
You buy the game, you have it. And they've been supporting it for basically a decade, it feels. And now they're using that framework and everything they've learned to now transfer on over to their new title.
I wonder if they've kept No Man's Sky's team relatively small too, to keep doing it for free. But I don't know. It's obviously a huge game.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna try it. I'll try out the new one for sure. Whenever that comes out, they don't even have a release date, right? That's like here's a little preview of something way off in the distance.
I don't think it has.
I don't know what modern marketing strategy is these days in terms of when you want to start hyping your game.
Either you release it day one with an update, or you're like, 6 years.
Or you never release it.
Or you just never release it, yeah.
It's always an alpha, and you make millions of dollars.
Oh my God, I hate that trend so much, Jack. I hate it so much.
Isn't that zombie game's finally doing 1.0, right? After being early access for like ever.
Zombie game?
Was it the 7 Days to Die? Is that it?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't they get their 1.0 release? Like,
yep. I was watching a streamer play it too after it went into 1.0 and the hordes came and his frame rate, he's got a decent PC, went down to like 5. Like it was a slide. It was literally, I didn't even want to watch him. It was making me nauseous because it was just a slideshow. It's like, yep, this is your 1.0.
Did you see that retro game base YouTube channel? They overclocked a CRT monitor to 700 hertz. Speaking of frame rates, I just thought it was funny that they took ancient technology and they're just like, oh yeah, you guys don't remember the glory days of the CRT, and they overclock these screens to like insane frame rates and then play games on them. I'm like, that's kind of awesome that you could still do that.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
My favorite is when they try overclocking stuff and they just like have like liquid nitrogen and they're just injecting it straight onto the device. It's just madness. It's great though.
Yeah, it's nice. Everything's CPU locked these days. You know, it's all in the main game thread. So we just need liquid nitrogen PCs now.
That's what we need. Exactly. That'll work.
Yeah, Jack did. If you watch the podcast, then you know. But I like to bring this up because I'm very excited about it. But it's also funny because I'm getting a pinball machine that's going to be faster than Matimia's computer.
Okay.
Performance.
Yeah, I remember this episode. You were talking about how pinball machines are cool, but they require so much maintenance and they're expensive, all the moving parts in them. So you were thinking about getting a digital one instead that you can change and skin and all that stuff. So you decided to buy one.
Yep, I've spent the money. It takes like 45 days or something to build it, I guess. And it's the new one, so they're still working out the kinks or something. But yeah, I'm excited about it it comes with a 4K 120 hertz like industrial grade display, and so they want it to run at 120 the whole time with like, you know, these high fidelity simulated tables, and so they're like, yeah, we put a 4070 in it, or what are they, 4770, I don't know,
I think you said 4070. Yeah,
is that right?
So it runs on an Intel or an AMD CPU as well, I presume.
Yeah, I can't remember what the CPU is, but capable enough, I guess, to simulate pinball physics.
You said it has like little motors in it as well, right? So you feel like it's a real machine as you're playing it. Yeah,
so it's at least got motors for each of the flippers, and maybe more than two, because a lot of tables have more than two flippers in them. And then it's also got some sort of motor in there to simulate the whirring mechanics that happens in a lot of pinball machines. I actually went to I think it's the biggest pinball museum in the States. It's pretty close to where I live. It's west of Portland, and I went to it this weekend, and the variety of tables that they have there is pretty crazy. So you'd have to have a lot of motors and stuff in them. But even while I was playing there, some of the machines literally broke while I was playing them. So I was like, okay, like the maintenance of a physical machine has just got to be insanity. I'm sure it's fun for people who've got the time for it, but that was one of my reasons for going digital too, is like, I mean, okay, you get hundreds of tables in one, and it's a PC essentially under the hood with a bunch of motors, right? So if the motors go out, you got to replace them or something. But
a lot less moving parts.
A lot, Jack. More than my first car.
More than he wants to admit on stream.
Actually, more than my second car, now that I'm thinking about it too.
I mean, you can't take it with you when you're dead, right? So you might as well spend the money while you're alive.
Damn.
You know.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not buying a $30,000 sim pit, so I'm going to
Is that for racing or flying?
Both.
I think, either. Because they cost that much because you're up on like hydraulic pistons and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
you could be the ultimate Star Citizen player, though.
Yeah. I tweeted this out today. The first time I've ever seen anything like this. You know those giant robot arms they use in car manufacturing facilities that are lift, the huge ones.
Wait.
Somebody rigged it to a sim thing. There's a dude in a race in like one of your racing chairs and like
just
a wheel
around.
He's literally flying around on the arm of the thing, playing a video.
That also sounds really dangerous.
Yeah, like, if you didn't program that right, you're dead.
Just slaps you across the like wall. You just become paste.
Yeah, but remember we were talking about G-forces last podcast. That'll get you the G-forces you want, right? That would
actually get you G-forces, especially in turns, 100%.
Yeah.
God, that'd be wild.
Kuka arms, I think, Charlie.
Yeah.
Kuka arms.
I don't know what that is. Yeah.
They use them on some theme park rides. I don't know if you've ever been to Universal where they have like the Harry Potter bit. There's a ride there that uses
me sick. Oh my God. Yeah.
But that would be so cool as a flight sim thing that you could just have in a room at home.
Yeah.
I feel like you need an entire garage, like in a building just dedicated to it. It'd be so big.
Huge, dude.
Yeah, it's humongous.
It's not going to fit in anybody's, you need a ceiling.
Not even
like
in a garage. Like a garage, I feel like would be too small too.
For that.
There you go. You need that Mr. Beast money for that.
That'd be a cool vlog though, wouldn't it, Charlie? If you had the space, you could be like, building my Kuka arms space in Star Citizen. I'd watch.
Yeah,
I'd watch too. I'd watch.
Everybody
all of
would watch.
Here
They'd
you
be
go.
like, "Hey, look at this idiot spending $100,000 on a gaming setup. Let's watch."
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, if I had the funds to do something like that, that would be very.
Or
fun.
just build it your own, like that one guy that's literally building a tunnel underneath his home into like a bunker.
Yeah, that guy's British. Do you know him, Jack? Is he close to you?
I don't know him.
I don't think every British person knows each other.
It's a small country, okay?
There's only like 10 people that live here.
Yeah.
There's only one accent. It's the one from Mary Poppins, and that's what we know.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah. I've been because I've been watching more. I've been keeping up more with British soccer stuff because I like the Wrexham documentary or show, whatever you want to call it. And then I've been into F1 a while, so I feel like I'm following mostly British sports at this point, which is weird. We're going to see the Wrexham women's team play because they're coming to Portland. So
nice.
That'd be fun. Do you follow any of that, Jack?
I mean, when I was a kid, when I used to play football, I used to go to games and have season tickets and stuff. But video games quickly took over in terms of a hobby. Yeah. So when I was 16, I stopped playing, and I didn't really go to the matches anymore. I mean, I follow like the national team, England. If there's a Champions League final, for example, they're always quite entertaining. But no, I'm not really into it that much, to be honest. I did watch Ted Lasso, though. I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh, so good. My favorite show.
Yeah, we love that.
It was my club. So I'm from a place called Wolverhampton, and there's a team there called Wolverhampton Wanderers. So I used to go to Wolves matches with my dad. But he supported the rival club, which was West Bromwich Albion. And my brother was also a West Bromwich Albion fan. So, we used to get in little scuffles over that. And
nice.
Whenever they played against each other, it was quite funny. But it was always just a bit of fun, We didn't really take it that serious.
Yeah. The whole point of sports.
I don't know, man. I mean, if you were watching how we handled the World Cup.
Just because some people take it too far doesn't mean it's not supposed to be fun.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, honestly, football takes it to the next level. Like, American sports is fun.
Very
we
dedicated
like to pretend
fan base.
that we get all hardcore about our teams, but then we look at the world, soccer or football on the global scale, and we're like, what are they doing over there? People are getting crazy. Yeah. But what I like about that Wrexham documentary is it explains the football clubs in a way that I didn't know how they operated before and how kind of intertwined they can be with towns and the economy and all that stuff. And how like a lot of people playing on the teams, especially in the lower leagues, will just be people that live there, and they're like a carpenter and their other, and their full-time job. Like, oh, that's kind of cool. It gives you like a little bit of a different sense of relating to the teams, which I find romantic, Mm-hmm. We don't have that here. They just sell teams and then they go to other cities and you're like, all right.
Change the subject here because I want to know Jack's opinion. Jack, you said you were watching The Boys. Did you finish off season 4?
Yeah.
And what did you think?
I didn't enjoy it as much as some of the other seasons.
Okay.
But I thought it was okay.
I thought it was all right as well.
Episodes were very fillery.
Do you feel like they're going a little bit too far with like, the writers have a fetish and they want to show that on screen? Do you feel like they're maybe taking that a little bit far?
In terms of like, what, pushing the jokes, you mean? Or just the
like there was, I mean, without getting into spoilers, the mansion basement scene?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it felt like, let's just be as shocking as possible for the sake of it.
I know, but it just felt like so I enjoyed season 4 for the most part. I do agree. It felt more like a filler season, but like, man, at some point I'm like, all right, can we just like, you made your joke. Do we still have to keep going on with like, I feel like I'm just watching a fetish like right now. Like, can we, I mean, sure, I guess, cool. Maybe I'm just too much of a prude. I don't know, but I'm just like rolling my eyes at this point with just how like over the top it is. Like, can we just move on?
Yeah, I mean, like I enjoy The Boys the best when they go into like Homelander a bit more and like his relationship with Ryan and Billy. And then I kind of enjoyed Gen V as well. The
I
spin-off. Like I thought that was good. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't my favorite season, but it was just okay. Like it's the next one's the final one, right? So we'll see how they wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm glad they are wrapping it up too, because it does feel like it's starting to tread over the same territory over and over. And thinking to have some conclusion, some finality is great.
Yeah, I haven't watched season 4 yet, but season 3 was, I mean, if you're saying season 4 goes beyond season 3 in terms of gratuity,
it's it's just that there was one scene in episode 6. It just doesn't end. It just kind of keeps going, and it's not like season 2 or 3. I can't remember which one with the exploding bits. If you know the opening episode of the season, you know which one I'm talking about. It's not like on that level, but it's just, I don't know. It just was a scene that just never kind of ended. I'm like, all right, I'm over this. Like, move on. I don't know how else to describe it.
I'll get there and I'll be like, this is what Matt was talking about.
Yeah, you'll probably figure it out.
Yeah, you will know it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, season 3 had the like sort of the sex house party thing going on.
Oh yeah,
that one
superhero.
Yeah, and I mean, you're just like, okay, they're just really just trying to swing for the fences on this. See how far they can take it.
It's kind of more like that, but okay. I don't know. It's just kind of getting old, I guess. It just feels like it's kind of same hat sort of a thing. But I like the season overall. I still enjoy the show.
Cool. What are you watching, Jack?
What am I watching?
Yeah, we talk about movies and shows. I mean,
House of the Dragon. I keep up with that.
Yes.
There was a little Netflix series, which is like based in London, actually, called Supercell on Netflix, which you might find interesting.
Oh, is that any good? Because I saw ads for it.
It's okay. I enjoyed it. It didn't blow me away. Like, I'm interested to see where they take it.
That's a superhero one, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like London superheroes. But it's different. They're trying some new stuff with it. What else? I saw the new Planet of the Apes movie recently. New King Kong as well. I don't go to the cinema. I just wait until they're on.
Which one, Jack?
Me too.
The robot fist King Kong or the World War II King Kong? Or that's Godzilla, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw that as well. I thought that was great. The
-1.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
Yeah, it was
the
really
CGI in that is insane. Like the way that they made the nuclear explosions, like so horrifying and terrifying.
It was great description. Like the actual his breath is terrifying. They did a very good job.
I thought his eyes were freaky too. They just kind of look dead. They're just that scene where he's chasing the boat and you just see these giant Godzilla eyes looking at you and you're like, ugh. Or something.
Saw Furiosa as well.
What'd you think of it?
It was okay. I mean, I don't think they could top Fury Road, but it was good. Some of the CGI in it was very weird though. Like there were a couple of scenes where you think, okay, it's obviously a green screen there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't watch that much. I tend to watch more YouTube than like movies and shows nowadays.
I recently saw, literally just the other day, 1917. It's that 2019 movie.
Yeah,
it was God, because maybe it's just because I enjoyed making stupid edits where I try to like flow scenes together on YouTube back when I actually made YouTube videos. But to see it on a professional level and to see like, oh, that's when he makes the cut, but it's so seamless. Like there's literally only one obvious like cut in the entire film, and just wow. The amount of preparation that had to go into that movie is just amazing.
Yeah. For people listening or watching who aren't familiar with the film, it's a World War I movie that is meant to seem like it's a continuous shot from start to finish for the entire duration of the film. Obviously, that was impossible given the
scale
of the production, but they do it to an extent where unless you're looking for it, you're not going to know when they cut. So, and it really has this insane sense of
it's really immersive realism. Because of it.
I was watching the making of that, and there were like scenes that were like 10-minute long action sequences, and some of them, like the bloopers are like the camera guy walking backwards and like tripping over a mattress or something.
Right.
And then the whole scene's done, right? Yep. They're just like, all right, reset all the explosives.
God, imagine being the person to screw up. Oof.
Oh, dude, that camera guy must have been like on pins and needles the whole time. Yeah. I mean, that's where all the work went, was the camera guy, essentially. Yep. The actors are like, all right, so I just kind of like roll around here and crawl through the mud. Okay, and the camera guy's like, yeah, I got to do this while framing the shot.
The one small critique I had for it, and it's a super small critique, is so the two main characters that you start off with, they're I don't know them as actors. Maybe they're in other stuff. Did a great job, but every other important character you come across is a famous actor, and so you're going through, and every person they talk to is like, oh, that famous actor, oh, that famous actor, oh, there's Benedict Cumberbatch, oh, there. I'm just like, it kind of takes you away because it's so immersive. You're just following them, so you feel like you're a part of it. And then it's like, oh, it's Benedict Cumberbatch. Hello.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
And that was a little jarring. Like I said, a very small critique because they all did an amazing job. And if I didn't know who they were, like it would just be seamless. But it was kind of funny to be like, oh, I recognize that voice. Oh, and there he is. There's that actor that is super famous. And there's another one. But it was really fun movie. And fun, I mean, horrifying, but just really well made. It's great.
Yeah, that's a special one that stands out for sure in terms of like war movies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to Twisters. That's what I'm. I like Twister, man. The first one, I remember seeing that in theaters. It was like this classic summer blockbuster movie, and like the rumble of the tornado, and like just how they really, that's when they were just like cranking movie theater subwoofers to the max. And like Twister was one of those like quintessential blockbuster films for its time. And I hear the second one is kind of following in the footsteps to a large degree. So I'm excited about it. And it's got Glenn Powell,
who seems to be everywhere these days.
He's everywhere, and I like him. He's growing on me. So
yeah. He's an attractive guy.
I'm all for it. So Jack, Twisters are these funnels of air. I know you don't have them anywhere else in the world, but well, we're just lucky over here. What's up?
Yeah, I enjoyed the original Twister. I mean, I was 10 years old when I watched it, but yeah, it's just a classic Hollywood action flick, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
And the only thing I remember is the cow.
As much. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, the two main actors didn't like each other either.
What, Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt?
Helen Hunt. Yeah. I've read that somewhere. When did I see that? And it was supposedly a nightmare to film as well. It was quite unsafe because they were doing a lot of practical stuff and stuff was just blowing around everywhere, hitting people in the face.
Good God, I can imagine.
Yeah, that was kind of before, like obviously they CGI'd the tornadoes, but that was before they could do too much without it looking terrible, you know? Tornado was like a easier excuse to get away with. I heard that, you know, speaking of Mad Max, I heard Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy like hated each other on the set of that. I heard they were just like, yeah, I heard it was like on another level of just yeah. Yeah, I'm a fan of Charlize Theron. From what I heard, Tom was pretty difficult to work with, but you know, when you go method, when you're like, I don't know,
is he a method actor?
I don't know if he's fully method, but I think he's something.
God, that would be so annoying to deal with someone who's in character all the time, and then their character is supposed to be standoffish, and then they're just standoffish. You're like, I don't like you because you're an asshole. Like, I don't care if it's a character, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
Are you going to go and see Deadpool Wolverine at the theater?
I won't, because I don't go outside.
Yeah, I save my theater goings like once or twice a year, so it's like a big movie, like Avatar or Top Gun or something.
Star Wars.
I think I'm done with Star Wars, Jack. I think it's...
You wouldn't go to it to see a new movie?
I don't think so.
Okay.
What if they came out with like a brand new big thing that wasn't just the same treading over the same ground like they always do?
Like if Christopher Nolan directed a Star Wars movie, I'd go see it, you know? Yeah, right? That just like maybe starts salivating thinking about it. They were working on the Star Wars movie, and maybe they still are, that's like supposed to be the Rogue Squadron one. So it's just about fighter pilots.
Hasn't it? Right.
I can't remember if it's canned or if it's coming back. That one had me interested a little bit. And then there's just so much crap happening around the production that I was like, this is going to be a disaster if this much if this much stuff is going wrong. And so beyond that, I mean, just the shows have been dropping the ball so hard for me that I'm like, what?
Did you watch the Acolyte?
No,
I didn't.
You've not seen any of it?
I heard it was pretty rough.
I've seen the clips of them breaking everything sacred to Star Wars. And I'm just sort of done with it at that point. Because while I don't like to be the guy that's like, well, technically you can't do all this and this, at the same time, what is the point of creating a massive universe if you're just going to crap on all of the established canon and lore? You know, it feels like Star Wars keeps rewriting its lore every time they do some major thing, and you're like, well, it's fantasy ultimately. I mean, it feels more like a fantasy type universe, so stick to the canon, right? That's all you have at the end of the day. And if they don't, then you're just like, you're just trying to wow people with bright lightsabers and the Force, I guess.
I do like pretty colors.
I know, right? Oh, his lightsaber's a different color. It's changing colors. Oh my God. I don't know, man. I really liked the Andor show. That was solid.
Grown up Star Wars.
Yeah, but then I think it had the worst ratings, and not ratings, but the least viewership out of any of the shows.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
So, I mean, that kind of goes to show you what has become of the Star Wars fan base over the years, is they just keep making shows that cater to the young crowd, and then they make an adult show and they're like, oh yeah, the fans aren't here anymore for it. Like, right. So I think the adult Star Wars days are kind of done for, but we'll see. Who knows?
Yep.
Maybe
so you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, let's wrap up the pod there. Jack, thanks for dropping by, man. It's always nice to chat and catch up, and it's been too long, sir.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Thank you for the invite. I'm sure we can do it again sometime, and hopefully we can get some games in the future.
Yeah. Oh, and let me shout out your channel. Prepare for watch your subscriber count number after this podcast drops. Okay, I think you're gonna see something happen. If you guys don't know where to find Jack, he's a huge YouTuber. Just look for JackFrags. Google it. You'll find him.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. He's so big. He doesn't want your subs at this point. No, but seriously, thanks for coming by. It is fun to catch up, and it would be fun to try and get the full squad on board one day. That'd be great. Thank you guys so much for watching. And Matt is going to leave you all with some very important advice.
Okay, so my advice is, I need to say something. There was an article that came out that said that skin cancer and people are not wearing sunscreen recently because they're watching TikTok videos of influencers saying you don't need sunscreen if you use this. If you use this special cream that you can make at home using avocado oil or eating healthy. And so my advice, I don't know why I need to say this.
Eating healthy.
Is you can listen to medical professionals every once in a while. It'll be okay. Wear sunscreen. And you can use that advice in every facet of your life. They're medical professionals for a reason. You can listen to them. You don't have to have a home remedy for everything. So that's my advice this week.
I don't know, Matt. It's 2024. People don't trust doctors anymore, okay?
But sunscreen? Really? Sunscreen?
Yeah. That's insanity. Coming from a family that has had plenty of skin cancer scares in the past and stuff. Put on some sunscreen, people. Protect yourself. Have you seen, on a side note to that, have you seen the little videos of showing people putting on sunscreen with, I think it's like an infrared camera or something that can detect UV stuff. It's pretty cool looking. You're like, oh wow, well, it stops. It actually UVs.
Works.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? It actually does what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, it's sort of like the flat earther proof for sunscreen. You know, if you are doubting it, go check it out. Sunscreen UV stuff.
Yeah,
it's a good PSA, Matt. Hopefully you're saving lives.
Sad that apparently it needs to be said.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Peace out.
Take care.